What's up, parties and hardos? We're back at it this week, episode 44, the Hank Aaron episode. Pull a page out of Spinny's book, start naming guys.
I
Jerry
was going to
West
say that.
episode. The Pistol Pete episode. Who do you got?
I was going to go with the John Riggins episode.
Oh my gosh.
Or the Dick LeBeau episode.
Yeah, of course I'm out here throwing out actual like studs.
The Ahmad Bradshaw episode.
Ahmad Bradshaw, okay.
That's a better one.
We're gonna stick with Hank Aaron, I think. That's the one I want to claim for this one. The Hank Aaron episode. We're starting this one off with headlines per usual. We're gonna talk the NFC and AFC championship games. The NFC was obviously not a game. It was over the moment Brock Purdy got hurt. Josh Johnson couldn't get anything going other than one drive where CMC put the entire team on his back pretty much and carried them down the field. That was the only thing.
That run was ridiculous.
Crazy. Did you see the top view, like from above?
No.
You got to check that out, dude. Look it up on Twitter. I'm sure it's on Twitter, otherwise on YouTube or whatever. Find the phantom view or whatever they call it from right above it. It's insane, that view. Other than that, though, that was the only thing they had going on the whole game. I mean, you can't blame them. They're onto their fourth string quarterback. And then, of course, 49ers luck. This man, Josh Johnson, can't even stay healthy, and he gets concussed. And they're on to torn UCL, Brock Purdy back in the game / CMC as QB. Just a disaster. I mean, if your QB3 and QB4 get hurt in the season, then it's just probably not your year, right?
Yeah, I just, and I said this morning as well, I just would have liked to see McCaffrey or Debo. Like, those were the two guys. McCaffrey was looking like he was going to be the guy. I just would have liked to see it a little bit, I guess. I just think at least it's giving you a better option than what you got. Like, they didn't have a chance to win with what they did. None. So I just thought it would be cool to see something that maybe it's not the best chance to win, but it at least gives you something.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Eagles, though, on the other hand, they looked incredible on both sides of the football. This is what they had. All four of their touchdowns were rushing. Basically, the first team to ever do that in the NFC Championship game to go to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I don't know who can stop this Eagles team, but hopefully Pat Mahomes can. So on to this other game, we had. Oh gosh, what is that reaction?
I just saw the CMC run. I just found it, and it was even better
from above.
It was even better from above. Yeah.
I know. I was telling you, it's literally better from above.
That last tackle that he bounces off of doesn't really look hard when you're watching it from the normal view, but he gets popped on that. I don't know who that is, but he gets popped, and it's just like, oh, okay.
He's like, no, just gonna brush that off and walk into the end zone.
It's fine.
The Chiefs, though, they survived 23-20 over the Bengals. This pretty much went as expected down to the last possession. That's kind of what I figured would happen. Team with the ball at the end would win. There was obviously the main storyline, I feel like, coming out of this game is the reffing controversies. Towards the end of the game, a lot of people, especially obviously Bengal fans, are essentially blaming the refs for this loss. Spinny, what do you think about that?
I get it. Like, if I was a Vikes fan, I'd be complaining too, but it's like, come on, y'all. Like, there were so many other moments in that, and a lot of the big things that's being complained about, like the roughing, the unnecessary roughness, I don't even want to hear about, because that was blatantly a good call. Like,
2 steps out of bounds.
It was like, if you looked up the definition in the rule book of what was a unnecessary roughness penalty in that situation, that would be it. Like, I'm sorry.
2 steps out of bounds. That's the rule, right?
You can't push a quarterback into the bench when on their second step out of bounds. Like, I'm not saying it's easy. I know it's a bang play. I know he was hammering after it, and I'm not blaming the guy, like, from that perspective, but it's like, it is the rule, and you gotta, like, it's hard. It's really hard. You don't want him to get that extra 2-3 yards. That could make a huge impact. So you're trying to make sure you're pushing him back. like Osai said in that interview, like I was just trying to push him back. Maybe we could get the clock to run, because they have to be going forward out of bounds in those last 5 minutes there. So just a lot of things going through your head, and it's not easy, but it was penalty. So let's talk about that one. The redo of the third down situation was kind of BS in my book. Even though you did see the official coming on late, it's kind of like, well, you're just not gonna stop the play. Like what? So that was a little BS, I thought, but it didn't affect anything. The Chiefs punted on that
Literally
drive anyway,
nothing.
so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. So it's like that doesn't matter. And the Chiefs also got a touchdown taken away from them on a penalty at the beginning. So it's like, can
Yeah.
we just relax a little bit on the penalty? Like it wasn't great. The reffing wasn't the best I've ever seen, but come on now. It wasn't there. We've
Right.
seen tremendously worse than this. Tremendously worse.
Yeah.
We saw
And
the '09 Saints Vikings championship game, if no one else can forget that one. But I'm going to bring it back up because we saw that one. You want to talk about bad reffing? We saw the Rams Saints guy
yeah,
get
Rams Saints.
absolutely schmookered in the face, like the most obvious penalty I've ever seen in my life not get called. So let's just calm
Right.
down a little bit, Bengals fans.
And a lot of um those plays that you just brought up had impact on the game itself.
Yeah,
Like you said, all these penalties didn't even impact the game. Sure, the um, unnecessary roughness or whatever the technical call is for pushing Mahomes out of bounds is the only one that I guess had impact on the game since it moved it up a closer field goal. But like you said, that was a clear and obvious penalty.
yeah.
Literally
Sorry,
based on the rule, 2 steps out of bounds, that's a penalty. And another
sorry.
one that stood out too was the maybe you saw this differently, but the intentional grounding to me, P
Oh
Ryan
yeah,
was like a solid 5 yards away from the ball, and he threw that straight into the dirt. I didn't think that was close enough, so I thought that was a good call there too. Even
I saw
live, I thought that was intentional grounding. So I was waiting for the flag the whole time.
I saw that a little bit differently. I guess the thing is usually on those plays you see it as like a screen, and then they can just chuck it
That's
into the
true.
ground because the running
Right.
back's closer to them. So like maybe he was too far away. I don't know. I thought that one was a judgment call. I I But again, like you said, P Ryan was 5 yards past the line of scrimmage, so it's like it is a bigger distance than like normally when you see that play. So I thought that was 50-50 call, little nitpicky, but at the same time, that's again, did that affect the game that much either?
Right. No.
So, you know,
Yeah. Salty fans just can't take the L. Essentially, trying to make something out of nothing is pretty much what happened there. But shout out
and
to the Bengals.
also
Shout out Joe Burrow. They had a great season.
and also like in the past, it's like the Chiefs like they were trying to play it like the Chiefs get all the calls, right? The Chiefs have
Right.
got
Yeah.
gypped on officiating calls more than a lot of teams. Like, if you want to talk about some officiating calls, let's go back and look at that Patriots AFC Championship game and see how those Chiefs fans are happy about those officiating calls. Let's ask. I want to ask our friend Kenny Shives how he feels about the D Ford penalty. See if that one's still
Yeah.
engraved in his mind. So there's been some bad ones in recent past for Chiefs fans as well.
For sure. I mean, if we're talking about officiating, we might as well transition to this next point, and that's with the NBA officiating and how atrocious it's been this
What do you
season.
mean? LeBron didn't get fouled. Come on.
Oh man,
That
it's
was
been bad.
clean.
It's been bad.
Clean.
Lakers getting the worst of it as of late. They've had 4 games in the last 2.5 weeks.
Four
Um,
games.
4 games where there was crucial calls missed or bad calls or whatever the case was at the end of the game, plays that actually mattered and had impact on the game result. And they were on the wrong end of it all 4 times. If they had won all 4 of those games, they'd have been sitting in 4th place, 4th seed, but instead they're the 13th seed since they lost all 4 of those. Um, I'm not saying there's a conspiracy against the Lakers. Some people are taking it as far as that. I just think they are on the wrong end of some terrible refing as of late. But this has been a theme throughout the entire season. Lots of games I've watched, Timberwolves games, games on national TV, and the refing just seems to be worse than it usually is to me. And like the Lakers Celtics, let's just use that game for an example. The call on AD with about a minute and a half left where he literally went up straight and they called a foul. No contact whatsoever. Lakers had to use their challenge up just to get that reversed. And then they can't even call the obvious slap on the, or can't challenge the obvious slap on the wrist for LeBron at the end of the game. There's just a
What do you
lot of
mean? That was all
situations like
ball.
that.
All ball.
Classic
Tatum's a
Celtics fan over here saying
all
that.
ball.
What do you think about this NBA officiating, Spinny? Is there? I know a lot of people are saying they should get fined for missed calls. Is that something that the NBA should do, or like, what do you think? Or is this just a bad stretch for the refs and they'll get better?
This is a bad stretch for the refs, and they'll get better. Come on, like what you're gonna fine the refs? Are we serious here for missing calls? Do we fine players for missing blocks or missing shots, or like do we fine LeBron when he misses his game-winning three-pointer? Do we fine him? No, come on. Like there can be egregious calls. There has to be something like. And again, I think that stuff comes down to like you don't get to ref the playoffs. Like you don't get the big series matchups. You don't get the conference finals. You don't get that extra bonus money stuff that you get when you're a
Yeah,
better
I'd be
ref.
down with that. Yeah,
I mean, I think that's kind of done already in a way. Like they
yeah, pretty
kind of do
much.
that already, but just maybe a more strict process on that, more analysis of. I don't know how they do it. I should have looked into that more before
I
I go
think they
off on this
do.
tangent a little bit. But
No, I'm pretty sure they do. Like the best rated officials are in the finals. I'm pretty sure that's how they do it. Maybe they need to do more of a punishment based. Like I don't know. I don't think you should fine refs based on a game to game or call to call basis, like a lot of people are saying. But maybe it's like, oh, if you were this egregious and you missed 100 calls throughout the season or whatever it is, you should be fined this amount. Or if you,
or have to
or on
go
the
to
flip side of
remedial
things,
refing school, you know?
right? Yeah, or you got to take more training courses or whatever. I don't know. I feel like something needs to be done. I have no idea what needs to be done. I'm just not with the finding the refs thing. I'm just
We
not with
need
that.
them to go back to remedial refing 95 and get their prereqs in before they jump to refing 101 because it's a little tough out here these days. But
A friend of mine actually the other day made a good point to me. It's like these are technically the best refs like in the world. Like this is the best basketball league in the world. The NBA is going to do everything in their power to get good refs there. You know what I mean? It's not like these guys are
yeah,
like some random dudes they just picked up off the street. These guys have gone through tons and tons of training to get to this point. And you also have to consider like the show aspect of the NBA, how like it's all a show, like until like last year or this year, where they're starting to call travels a lot more. Travels are pretty much completely ignored, you know. So, and that's not on the refs. That's just how the NBA is. So
yeah.
there's a
At
lot of
least
things like
at
that
least
too.
travels that are like yeah. I mean, like even the whole gather step situation that basically gives you 3 steps, right? That's pretty much
Right.
what we did.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's move on though. Kellen Moore was fired by the Cowboys on Sunday, and the next day, Monday morning, was picked up by the Chargers. Less than 24 hours, he was signed by a new team. Obviously, a great sign by the Chargers. This should definitely help their offense. Spinny, what do you make of the Cowboys firing Kellen Moore, though? I thought that was a terrible move by them.
Horrendous. The man's had a great offense. Like,
So
what are we talking about here?
they chose McCarthy over him, right?
I mean,
Essentially, from
oh,
what
I
I
just
see,
think
what from what I saw is that McCarthy is calling the plays now next year.
really.
Yeah, that's what I saw in an article.
Yeah. But do you think that's good?
McCarthy calling the plays.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know if I would say it's bad, but I also don't know if I would say it's good. Like I feel like Kellen Moore did a good job. I mean, this is a top 3, top 5 offense 2 years in a row under Kellen Moore.
Yeah. They were
So I
sixth
just
this year and
and
ninth in scoring.
last year I'm pretty sure they were number 1.
Yeah, and like all the offensive analytic numbers really favor Dallas. And a lot of it from what I've seen is not Kellen. Like there were receivers open in Dallas's playoff loss. It's just Dak hit them under the pressure that he was under against San Francisco. He couldn't hit anybody. There were receivers open there in those games. It was just unhit, in my opinion. Also, what he did with Cooper Rush, like Cooper
Right.
Rush was looking really good in those games, and we saw the last time we saw Mike McCarthy call plays, we saw how that went. We saw how that
Exactly.
went. Instant turnaround from him to LaFleur to 2 straight MVPs for Aaron Rodgers and 2 top 5 offenses. Going from a mid to low, like they were like 18th in McCarthy's last year with Rodgers and Devontae. It's like, come on now. We know where this is at. And McCarthy can't even keep the damn clock straight in his head at the end of the games and
Literally.
learn how to. Man hasn't played any Madden in his life apparently and can't do a 2-minute drill. And then we're gonna expect him to call the plays on top of it and manage the time. Are
Yeah.
we like? Am I taking crazy pills here? We're giving Mike McCarthy more responsibilities.
It's
Oh,
apparently how Jerry
I don't
Jones
know.
wants things done next year, I guess. I don't get it either. It makes no sense to me. If I kind of figured they'd keep everybody, but I thought if they were going to fire somebody, it was going to be McCarthy, not Kellen Moore, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, huge upgrade for Justin Herbert. Um, Joe
Yeah,
Lombardi
big
to
time.
Kellen Moore.
Yeah,
Holy upgrade. I think Lombardi was one of the most. I know Trevor last time we talked, he hated him even more than Brandon Staley. So I think Lombardi was enemy number one for a lot of Chargers fans from this season. And we're gonna get to see some fun, cool stuff from Kellen Moore, I think. So hopefully, especially for Brandon Staley's sake, Kellen Moore makes an impact on the offensive side.
yeah. I was just going to say, I think this might be Staley's last straw. If he can't get something done with Kellen Moore now as OC, then he's probably going to get fired after next season, I would
You
imagine.
got to make the playoffs and not get
You got
blown
to make
out.
the playoffs and then not blow a 28-point lead. That's for damn
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. And you
Le-
can't get blown out next year. If you get a close
right.
game and lose, there's a chance with the Chargers' cheap ownership, but
That,
it's got to
yeah.
be either a win or a close loss in the playoffs next year.
Or even like at least a step forward in the regular season, like what they go 10 and
Yeah,
7, I think. So like maybe
yeah,
winning 12 games next year instead
yeah.
or something.
True.
Yeah. Last headline we have here, not really that big of one, but Jazz Chisholm, cover of MLB The Show 23. I just thought that was interesting. It doesn't really make any sense to me. This guy only played 60 games last year. He got hurt. He was an All Star. All those 60 games were before All Star break. He balled. I'm not saying he didn't. He had 14 home runs, 45 RBIs, 4 triples in only 60 games, as compared to the year before. He played 124 games, had 4 triples, so the same amount, 60 less games. He only had 4 less home runs. He had 18 home runs and 53 RBIs. It's only 4 less home runs, 8 less RBIs, and 60 less games. So he was on pace to have an amazing season. So it almost makes you wonder: did they do this voting and figure out who the cover was like around All Star break? Because I just don't see how, if they did it after the season, how he would be the one that was picked. I just don't get it.
Yeah, there's just a lot bigger names I feel like as well that you could use for this award than than him. But I get trying to reach the younger audience. He is a young player that's going to be around for a while, and if he's good, if he really this jump was not just a 60 game aberration and it is who he's going to be, then this could be a good move. But I also feel like this could be a Peyton Hillis type situation where the guy just isn't
Man,
had
that
a
would be
nice little
bad.
stretch and isn't that good. But we'll see. Obviously, Peyton Hillis was older than this at the time and had never been good before. It's not quite the
Right.
same situation, but
Different
um,
sports, even.
yeah. But I could see it not paying off from that perspective of him not being quite as good as people think.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I was even thinking, like, if you're going to throw out a young shortstop, like, you could have even just as well done Jeremy Pena,
Yeah.
World Series MVP as a rookie for the Astros. Like, that seems like a solid option, but what do I know? I do like Jazz Chisholm, though, and I think he can be good. but I just thought it was probably a little premature for him to be on a
Also
cover.
on the worst team in the league, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the other thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, now we're going to talk about the Pro Bowl a little bit. Completely new format this year. We got 8 skill contests. They're not playing the game anymore. They're playing flag football. And there's actually going to be 3 mini flag football games. So the 8 skills contests and 3 mini flag football games, that's the total for the Pro Bowl weekend. You get the scoring for this, for NFC versus AFC here. 3 points per contest awarded to the winning conference of each contest. 6 points for each of the first 2 flag football games. So 12 points total there. And so the total of the 8 contests and the first 2 flag football games are total together. And that's the score on the scoreboard to start the third and final flag football game. So
Wow.
8 contests, 3 points, that's 24. 2 flag football games, 6 each, that's 12. 24 and 12, that's 36 points total will be on the board to start the third and final flag football game. For example, it could be NFC 21, AFC 15, or something along those lines. Could be the score we're seeing. So that's just kind of an interesting way they set it up. Thursday, we have the first contest is dodgeball. How do you like that, Spinny?
That's
Legitly
my favorite
dodgeball.
one every year. They do that every year. It's my favorite one.
It's awesome. We got, has it always been 4 offense and defense playing each other in the conferences?
No. Nope.
So this year there's 4 teams of 5 players, offense and defensive team for each conference. They play themselves. So AFC offense plays AFC defense. Same for the NFC. And then the winners will play each other for the 3 points. That's how they're doing that for dodgeball. It's going to be fun. They haven't announced, just a little preface here for our listeners, they haven't announced pretty much any participant for any of these contests yet. So be on the lookout for that later this week as we approach the Pro Bowl weekend. Lightning round is the next one. This one's kind of confusing, so stay with me on this. Each conference gets 16 players, and there's 3 different mini games within this. The first event is Splash Catch, it's called. So the teammate pairs are essentially throwing a water balloon back and forth to each other and backing up each time. And then those that make it through each level move on to the next game. So I don't know how hard that's going to be, but we'll see.
It's
the second round, elimination, correct. So everyone that advances goes on to high stakes. This is where they're going to attempt to catch punts from a jugs machine. Spinny, do you even know what a jugs machine is? I don't.
Yeah, it's like the machine that shoots footballs, like the spinning wheels and the.
Yeah, so they're probably going to angle that up in the sky. They have to attempt to catch punts from this, and assuming they do, they move on to the final part, which is thrill of the spill. So the remaining players from each conference will aim at targets attached to a bucket hanging above a head coach's head. So the AFC will be throwing at buckets that are on top of NFC coaches' heads. So I don't know what's in the bucket. They haven't said. I don't know if it's like slime or just water. I don't know.
That's funny.
So the like first team to dump. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense. The first team to dump the bucket on the opposing coach wins.
Okay.
So I believe it's the coaches of the Pro Bowl teams, which means it's going to be, I could be wrong there, but that means it would be Peyton Manning and Eli Manning standing out there. So that might be kind of hilarious. Funny to see. That might be kind of funny to see. Next competition, longest drive. That's just literally straight up golfing. Longest drive wins. We got 4 players.
It's going to be a D lineman. I feel like it's going to be a D
That's
lineman.
What I think too. I was Googling like NFL players golfing and like, of your Aaron Rodgers and guys like that. Adam Thielen is like a really known golfer, but like these guys aren't in this, they're not in the Pro Bowl this year. So it'd be interesting to see who's going to step up and do it. There's 4 players from each conference. But yeah,
it might be a random quarterback too. I could see it being a random quarterback, a random white quarterback that loves golfing. For sure, it could be him. But
Josh Allen is another known golfer. He just he won't be there. He's hurt or something, so he's not coming anymore. But
Tyler
longest
Huntley, right?
drive. Tyler Huntley, I mean, he's in there now. Maybe he's a golfer. I do not get that, by the way. Do you have any explanation for why Tyler Huntley's in the Pro Bowl? Because I don't.
No. I mean, no, not really. I just feel like there was anybody else that
Anybody who actually played like the majority of the season and not just 3 or 4 games.
I mean, he played more than 3 or 4 games. He played like 9, but
No, he didn't. 9
yeah, he
games. You're telling me
did.
Lamar missed over half the season?
All right.
And
We're
either
looking it
way, I
up
saw the
here.
voting was done at whatever point the voting was done. Tyler Huntley only had like 270 yards passing on the season when they did that. Oh, so that's funny. That kind of leads us, while you're looking it up, that leads us into our next contest, which is precision passing. Quarterbacks battle it out in a 1-minute accuracy competition.
7 games.
7 games. Wow. I didn't even think it was that many. So, I mean, this is one that's been done for a while now, this precision passing. This one we can actually
predict. I'm sorry. Can I go back to Tyler Huntley for 5 seconds?
Okay.
His 7 games, passing yards, 187, 88, 138, 115, 130, and 226. Touchdowns passing totals, 4 total in those 7 games and 4 interceptions. Rushing totals 41, 31, 15, 26, 24, 54, and 1 touchdown. 5 total touchdowns, 4 total. Do we have a fumble? Oh, yeah. 5 total touchdowns. Let's see. How many did he lose? 1. Okay, so yeah. 5 total touchdowns, 5 total turnovers. No rushing more than 50 yards. And no passing more than 226, with the second highest being 187. And played 7 games.
Oh, so okay, I actually see now. So apparently, voting for the Pro Bowl alternates, I should say, are done after the teams are announced. At that point, he had only started 3 or 4 games at that point when the voting was done. But this voting is done by players. So that's where it makes sense, because a lot of players are in this situation where you're just voting for an alternate, right? A lot of players just vote for their teammates or their friends or whatever.
Do you know who else is in? Who are the AFC quarterbacks right now?
So, before I fully answer that question, the alternates were Tua, Trevor Lawrence, and Lamar and Huntley in that order. So Tua's hurt. Lawrence went in already for Mahomes, and then Jackson's hurt too. So that's kind of why Huntley got in. So it's Mahomes. Quarterbacks would be Mahomes. Not Mahomes. Lawrence, Burrow, Huntley. That's it. Yeah, Lawrence, Burrow, Huntley. Josh Allen's out because of injury, and Mahomes is in the Super Bowl. So Burrow, Lawrence, Huntley for the AFC.
No Herbert.
No Herbert. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Herbert could have taken Huntley's spot.
Even like Carr. Even though his season wasn't great. I don't know. Interesting. Anyways, let's move on to the next skills challenge you were explaining there.
Which is precision passing. This is one we've all seen. It's been done for a couple of years now. It's just a test of accuracy, essentially. Who do you got, Spinny? I'm taking Joe Burrow because this dude is a freaking monster. And
Tyler Huntley, baby. Tyler Huntley. Precision passing champ, Tyler Huntley.
That's going to come back and bite you when he's the first one eliminated.
Could be Burke Buzzins, too, honestly.
Let's go. I hope so. I mean, that's what I'm cheering for. No doubt.
Yeah.
To round off Thursday. I mean, he really could. Those are probably like the front runners you would imagine is Kirk and Burrow.
If he has to wear his chains, he's for sure winning. If chains is allowed, dubs.
All I want to know is, when's that grill coming out? They mentioned that after what?
Yeah,
Thanksgiving game,
Facts.
I think.
Yeah, where's
We still
Kirky's
haven't
grill
seen the
at?
grill.
Facts.
Gosh, lame. To round off Thursday's competitions, though, we have the best catch. This is another one that's been done for a while. 2 players from each conference compete. So, man, I hope Jefferson's in it. So 2 of the 4 receivers from each conference are in. Again, we don't know who yet. I'm picking Jefferson. If they don't put Jefferson in, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Essentially, they're just making highlight catches. They're purposely making highlight catches,
Yeah.
and then the top vote getter from each conference moves on to the final round, which will be on Sunday.
So it's the dunk contest.
Essentially, a dunk contest. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just separated into 2 days. So the best catch finale is Sunday, is the first event, and so those top 2 vote getters will compete head to head to determine the winner, obviously. And then it goes into the Gridiron Gauntlet. Has this been one?
Yeah.
This has been one before? Okay. It's side-by-side relay race, basically strength, speed, and agility. 6 players from each conference. There's 4 parts to this gauntlet. Each segment is 40 yards in length. There's breakaway walls. You got to climb over walls and under tables. One of those classic relay races that way. So
this was
be
one
interesting to
last
see.
year for sure. I don't know how long it's been around, but
The second to last one is kick, tic tac toe. Each team's kicker, punter, and long snapper compete in this. I'm rocking the NFC in this one just because our man Anthony DePaul, or however you say his name, the long snapper, is going to be competing. The Vikings long snapper. So I gotta take the NFC in that
Who
one.
else do we got? What kickers do we got?
We have the kickers are for the AFC. It is Morgan Cox, long snapper, Tommy Townsend, punter, and Justin Tucker, kicker. That is the AFC, and the NFC is, like I said, Andrew DePaula, long snapper, Tress Way, punter, and Jason Myers is the kicker.
Definitely taking the AFC for sure.
What?
Justin Tucker, dude.
We got a
come
Viking in this
on. Justin Tucker's not losing to Jason Myers. Get out of
here. He is.
Come.
Justin Tucker's not even good at kicking. You act like he's good at kicking. All right, that was too far. I'm sorry.
Woo.
The last contest, move the chains. There's going to be 2 teams from each conference, 4 total. They compete side by side in a weighted wall pull. So there's 5 players on each team, I guess. They're responsible for pulling a wall that's loaded up with heavy weights. So that'd be interesting. That's obviously straight strength.
Dudes.
Yeah, there's going to be some big dudes in that one. That's for sure. That'll be funny to watch. And then it goes on to the flag football games. So, like I said, they'll total up all the points from the contest, and then the first 2 flag football games, and then that's your score heading into the last game. So, I don't know how long these flag football games are. I would imagine 15 minutes, essentially just a quarter length. I would imagine something along those lines. 15 to 20 minutes, probably.
Or they do 20 minutes, and it's 60 total for all of them.
Right. That's probably.
I could also see him doing like 15, 15, 30 or something.
Yeah, having
the
third one be a little longer. Yeah, that would make sense too. Well, Spinny, now that we've gone over this Pro Bowl, you know what time it is now?
Not time for you to catch me, that's for sure. It's definitely not time for
that. Check out the standings now. I'm getting there.
I think you're 1 point back.
1 point back.
All right, not catching me today. Today's not the day, folks. All right, me first.
Well, we're gonna like listen to our trivia song for a second here?
Oh shoot, you're right. I'm sorry. Let's listen to it.
Okay, now it's time for me to catch you, Spinny.
Oh,
1 point back. This is where I finally overtake you. You've been leading in trivia for
For
months.
a long time.
Too long of a time. And that
No,
ends today. I'm
my
about to be the
streak
leader
does not
after
end
today.
today. You're not going to get these NBA questions today, that's for sure.
You're not getting mine either. So let me start.
Mm.
My easy question. This rising star is fourth in the NBA in total points and first in minutes played.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Final.
Wow, you said that really quick. That is incorrect.
Ooh.
It is our boy, Anthony Edwards.
In total points?
Total points.
I don't know how that's possible, but
I'm not talking averages here. We're talking total.
well, yeah. But SGA
played
hasn't
it.
missed any games, and
Yeah, he has. He's missed some games.
Hmm.
Anthony Edwards is one of the few players in the NBA that hasn't missed a single game yet this season. Leads the NBA in minutes.
Total points this season. Wow.
Don't.
SGA is in the top 3. It's Luka, Tatum, SGA, and Julius Randle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and now I can't even ask you another question now because you freaking had to look up the standings. Nice. Now I got to switch my medium question.
You had 2 questions from that?
It was somewhat around it, but now that you know the top 5, it's going to be pretty obvious. My second question here.
Sorry. I just had to check to make sure that SGA was in there because I knew he was. So technically wasn't my question, right? Technically wasn't my answer, right?
No, your answer was wrong. I said who's fourth in total points
yeah, you did
and
say fourth.
first
You're
in minutes played.
right. Fine. What team leads the NBA in turnovers per game? That's my easy question.
How was this an easy question?
Because I told you it less than 3 hours ago. I said it live on the air less than about 3 hours ago.
I don't know. The Warriors. Final answer.
The Warriors are second worst. The Rockets lead the NBA in turnovers per game. Said it on the Al Travis show this morning. I thought you would have been listening. I actually listed the top 4.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, but I wasn't that focused to remember it 4 hours later.
That's
but
fair.
I guess that does make sense though. Rockets.
Plus, the Rockets are the worst team in the league, so I felt like turnovers per game. You had to come up with a new question, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure something out here on the spot because my medium question.
What was your other medium question going to be?
My medium question is now ridiculously easy and unfair now that you've seen the top 5. So
that's fair. What would it have been?
It was only player in the NBA top 5 in total points and total rebounds.
Oh, okay.
All those people you said were guards in total, besides Julius Randle. So
true. I would have said Julius Randle.
Man, I can't even find. Because all the questions I'm seeing here.
Just look at the stats.
I'll just throw. I got one. Who is for the month of January? About 20 game stretch here. This player was the first player since Wilt Chamberlain to average a double-double on above 70% shooting for a 20 game stretch. Who is this player?
Am I gonna see? I feel like I'm gonna overthink myself on this question because I want to say Jokic, right? Because especially you sent me like all his stats yesterday, this morning, or whenever that was. So I want to say Jokic, but feel like that's too easy, so you wouldn't do that. It's either Jokic or Sabonis, I think. And I'm just going to say Jokic. We're just going to go with Jokic.
The answer is my boy, Mason Plumlee.
What?
Mason Plumlee shot 76% on 16 points per game, 11 rebounds in his last 20 games. Absolutely ridiculous stretch for Mason Plumlee. And the only reason why I considered this a medium question, obviously that one was kind of hard, is because I sent it in our Dynasty basketball chat a day ago or 2 days ago, which you're in. I sent that tweet in the chat. So, which you maybe didn't look at it, but that was the tweet that I had sent.
I'm sure I have looked at it in the last day. Okay, what team leads the NBA in three-point percentage?
Love how we both just did stats. Like, I essentially looked at this before, and I still don't know. 3-point percentage makes a lot of threes. I'm going to go with the Mavs. Final answer.
It's the Nuggets. 39.6% from three on the season for Denver. Crazy.
My hard question. What team, I should say, is the only team that is top 10 in these stats? Points, three-pointers, steals, and blocks. Only team that is top 10 in all those stats.
Points
and threes for offense, steals and blocks. This one actually, I threw this as a question because when you hear the answer, it actually kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like, I don't think you're going to get this team right, but when I tell you the team name, you're going to be like, okay, that actually does make sense.
I'm going to say the Kings.
That's a good guess. It's actually the Pacers. It's the Pacers.
Pacers. I never.
So you think about it. You have like Miles Turner, for blocks.
Yep.
Steals, you got Tyrese Halliburton or whatever, and all their other guards. Threes, you got Buddy Hield. He's always top 3 in the NBA in three-pointers made. So when you think about it in that regard, it kind of actually does make sense. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. A team that's not actually very good is actually top 10 in a lot of key stats like that. So
that's crazy.
Man, are we actually going to have a tie?
You might get this one, honestly. Who leads the NBA in points per game?
This is your hard question?
Mm-hmm.
God, now I'm really confused. Is there like a games played parameter here, or
team? Which team?
Oh, what team?
What team?
My bad.
Sorry.
That's why I was confused.
What team?
That's why I was confused. I was like, I think it's pretty obvious that Joel Embiid leads the NBA in scoring, but
yeah. What team?
Okay, what team? This is another one. This is why it's driving me insane. I literally looked at all these stats before. I should know what team leads in scoring. I literally looked at it 2 hours ago. This is so frustrating. The team that leads in scoring, tons of high scoring games. It's got to be the Sacramento Kings.
It is the Sacramento Kings.
So
I knew as soon as I guessed that for yours, I probably gave it to you, but
let's go. Oh, it was them or the Nuggets. I'm pretty sure the Nuggets are probably top 3 or 5, I would imagine. Those are the two teams that came to mind right away. Because the Kings, they always have games that are like 125 to 120 final score. Like, always. That's why I always start my guys against the Kings in fantasy. Whoa! New leader in trivia. Let's
We do
go.
have a new trivia later.
Let's go. Let's go. Started from the bottom. Come on. Just speechless over there.
Nah, I feel slighted by that trivia today, but that's okay.
You feel slighted.
I won't be a Bengals fan, and I'll take my L and shut up.
You feel slighted. I'm the one who always feels slighted.
Just gonna say the roughing on that trivia was a little sketchy, a little sus roughing
How?
during trivia today.
How?
All right, next segment. Moving on is
Remember,
the
it was
NFL
your fault that you had to
draft.
fact check my easy question. So that's your fault.
All right.
Yes. On to the last segment, though.
Last segment, which is the one where we just end the show because Bus cheated trivia and we leave. I'm just kidding. All right, back to it with the old NFL draft ski, the old too early NFL. We're going to do this in 3 segments, 10, 10, 11, or shoot, 11, 11, 10. Sorry, math is hard. 11, 11, 10. So we wanted to get the last one out the week after the Super Bowl. So we'll shoot this one this week, next one Super Bowl week, third one week after the Super Bowl. And then, so that's how we'll do that. And then you'll get another full mock from us close-ish to the actual draft time. So just going to spread it out here so it's not as holy cow monotonous. And then, so we're going to start with number 1, the Bears. Team needs, I would say, edge rusher. Obviously, they need some linebackers after the Roquan trade. We got O-linemen. The Bears O-line was devastatingly bad this season, as well as wide receiver. Like, obviously, Darnell Mooney can't be your WR1, and you're not going to have a super awesome receiving core, especially with a young quarterback like Fields. So those are the needs. Bears pick number 1. First thing I want to say is just a little comment that we didn't do a lot of trade, like actual picks here, just to make it simple, but we'll talk about trade options for all these people, and that's going to start here with pick 1 because the Bears obviously should trade out of this pick. I think they should trade back twice if they can, try to account for multiple first-round picks because I think they have their guy at quarterback, and they need so much everywhere else. I think this just needs to be a stockpile trade back for Chicago.
Yeah, I agree. I would be shocked if they don't trade back. I mean, that would just be an L on their part when the likely number 1 picks are quarterbacks. When you already have your quarterback, you're going to get these defensive players a couple picks later, no matter what. Anyways, yeah, they got to trade back. But yeah, like Spinny said, we're going through these picks for our too early mock as they are, and then our final mock draft will include trades and things we think will happen. For the Bears, though, this pick, I have them right now. I got them taking Jalen Carter, defensive tackle from Georgia, absolute monster. I think there's only 2 possible answers for this Bears pick, and it's Jalen Carter or Will Anderson, edge rusher from Alabama. Those are the only 2 players I can see them taking.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to see even maybe the Lions are the team that has a quarterback they really like. They got pick 6 and pick 18. Maybe that's something you're looking at. But you're gonna need at least 3 picks, one of them being in the top 5 to trade up here. Like we saw what Trey Lance went for. Seattle could be another option, but are they really in on the quarterback game? It sounds like Geno is going to be the guy there. Someone that wants their guy and wants to jump this team at this next pick, the Houston Texans. They obviously need a quarterback. They need O-line. They need defense anywhere and everywhere. Not a lot of stuff going on in this roster in the good way right now, but I think quarterback is going to be their most dire option here, given that I don't think Davis Mills is the guy. We had some hope after season 1, after season 2, a little more Daniel Jonesy looking. So I think Houston is going to make the wrong pick here, as they usually do, but it's just seeming the way the hype train has been going in the last couple of weeks that this guy could be the number 1 quarterback taken, and that is Will Levis from Kentucky.
Well, I'm glad you at least said the wrong pick. I was questioning you before we started recording when you said you had Will Levis going first. But I can picture the Houston Texans. They're known for making the wrong pick, so I could definitely picture them doing that. I got Bryce Young here. I'm anticipating them not actually making the wrong pick, choosing the best quarterback in my eyes on the board. Pretty much the only questions about Bryce Young is his size, right? I mean, he's 5'11", 6 feet tall. That's pretty much the only questions when it comes to him. He's clutch, elite accuracy, elite decision making, could throw on the run. I mean, he has pretty much everything you want. So I think he's the best quarterback on the board, and Texans got to take him.
Yeah, I worry about Levis. Obviously, is getting a lot of Josh Allen comparisons, so I think the hype of that is
Right.
going to be a thing. The other thing you do worry about with Bryce is athleticism at the NFL level. Are we going to get more of a Tua type situation, or are we going to get a guy that can actually beat NFL defenders like in an athletic way? So, I think that's going to be a big determinant on Bryce, and it just scares me a little bit. Like, given what we saw with Tua this season, I think right-handed Tua is an option, is a floor option for Bryce Young that I wouldn't love. So I think that's the comp, and that's the skill set that sketches me out a little bit.
Right. That's the floor, but I think the ceiling is probably like a Russell Wilson, right? They
Yeah,
kind of
Russell Wilson prime is
right.
best case scenario, right? That's what you're really looking for. So
for sure. The Cards at 3, Spinny. I know they need a ton of defense. Other than that, what else? That's pretty much it, right?
that's all I put. I mean, you might try to get another skill guy as well if you trade DeAndre, right? But defense is really you got to get an impact player on defense here, and that's why I went with Will Anderson. I think if he's still on the board here, or if Carter's still on the board here, whichever one of those guys on the board you got to take. You lost Watt. They got to try to get an impact player on the defensive end.
Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. I have Will Anderson here going as well, and I think Bears Cards. That's Will Anderson, Jalen Carter. One's going to Chicago, one's going to Arizona. That's kind of how I see that playing out. And
if the picks are kept, I agree.
If the picks are kept, and you said skill position. That's interesting because looking at these top 11 picks, I think a guy like your Bijan Robinson, your stud running back, this would be the only place that he's landing. I feel like in this top 11, if he were to go this high, it would be probably all the way to Cards at 3. You know, when they definitely need another skill player. James Conner is not back. Losing DeAndre Hopkins, and so yeah, I could envision Bijan
Philly. I think
5.
Philly low key could be one later on as well.
I totally agree with that. The only reason why I was skeptical about Philly at 10 is because they also have their pick later in the round too, so they might just try to draft Bijan or a different running back later.
True.
The Colts though at 4, I got C.J. Stroud. Obviously, quarterback is a huge position need for them. They're definitely not going to stick with Matt Ryan. There's a guy with great size, dual threat capabilities, 6'3", just a solid all-around quarterback. I think they have to take C.J. Stroud at this pick.
I have Stroud as well going here. I think the Colts are going to take the bigger player, the more pocket passing based player. I would say, obviously he's going to have some power run game up the middle, but like his outside side to side making defenders miss at the NFL level is probably not going to be that awesome. And I just look at draft history with the Colts drafting high with Manning and Luck. They're going to go more of the prototypical size and build of quarterback. And I think Stroud, the accuracy issues, right? That's what you're worried about a touch. Obviously, he is a good prospect, but we see the floor And now I don't want to compare him to this guy because he's obviously much better pedigree than this guy. But when we draft at the top, this is what we think of, like the Jamarcus Russell comp. Is something that could happen for Stroud I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to be an above average quarterback. But I think that there is some worry there with how he could develop. I see maybe more of a Big Ben style comp for Stroud, maybe at his ceiling. Not to be the comp guy in this episode. I'll try to cut that out after this, but
Those are good comps, though. I like those comps. Man, I hope he doesn't turn into Marcus Russell. That would suck. How about Seahawks at 5, Spinny?
Seahawks at 5 is an interesting one. I just want to say too, by the way, going back to Stroud quick, a lot of scouts have liked his accuracy, and the grades on that are high. I just watched a decent amount of Ohio State football this year, and it was concerning to me at some fronts, especially like in big games. Even though against Georgia he played really well,
Even though, right.
I thought his mistakes were nitpicking his mistakes is that's where it's coming from. But not a lot of experts agree with that one. So I'm just prefacing that. Seahawks, I think you're going defense here, unless you go quarterback, but it sounds really Geno positive out of Seattle. So needs for them QB, edge rusher, and linebacker. Best player probably available on the defensive side right now is Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. I think Seattle, they usually make great drafting decisions, especially on defense. And I think this guy has some good upside there for them.
No, I completely agree. I had Tyree here as well. I mean, this is a guy is 6'6", 275 with a 7'2" wingspan.
Mm-hmm.
Freak, absolute freak size there and athleticism as well. And Carroll also, he said shortly after the season, after their loss to the 49ers, he said they need to improve their front seven. That was one of the first things he said in the press conference following the loss. So this would help that front seven for sure.
Yep, and I think obviously this is going to be tough. The Lions are probably hoping Seattle does decide to go quarterback because they have the next pick, and obviously defense anywhere is where their need is going to be. Their receiving rooms are really good.
They would take Tyree Wilson for sure.
For sure would take Tyree Wilson. And I think they're taking maybe a little bit of a step back in the prospect I have them taking here. But this player obviously had some good performance as at Clemson, and that is Miles Murphy, 17 and a half sacks in his career at Clemson. But yeah, I think that even though Tyree is maybe a slightly better prospect, especially given build and such, if he's off the board here, the Lions are going to need an extra pass rusher. And I think that they want to take somebody to here to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. So like if you hit on this guy and you have two above average pass rushers at your end positions in the NFL, it can make up for a lot at the corner and secondary position.
I'm trying to find who am I thinking of here? There was a good comparison for man, I can't find where he got drafted last year. Oh, Jordan Davis. Couldn't think of his name. Jordan Davis. They were saying Miles Murphy is kind of like Jordan Davis in that they think he's going to climb a lot higher during this the combine and things like that. You know, Jordan Davis had ridiculous numbers out of the combine, and they think a guy like Miles Murphy, who's a little raw, you know, doesn't have the greatest film. Obviously, he played well, but nothing like Tyree Wilson has. But his numbers, and I mean, he's 6'5", 275 with elite speed for that size. So they just think a lot of draft experts think he's going to start climbing here in these next couple months. So I had him there as well. Pairing him with Aiden Hutchinson, that'd be huge for them.
Yes,
hate to see it as a Vikings fan, though, but
yeah, it's going to be an interesting if Seattle can finally pull a defense, or Seattle, if the Lions can finally pull a defense out there in Detroit with their explosive offense, so there'll be something to deal with, especially with pick 18, where they could maybe slap corner in later and really solidify that first round.
Not to
Um,
mention the potential Jalen Carter or Will Anderson roaming in the NFC North then too. So
yeah, that would not be fun. Um, Next pick belongs to the Las Vegas Raiders. Obviously, quarterback, their biggest need. Corner, edge, offensive line needs improvements as well. I'm gonna go with this. Might be a little bit of surprise. A lot of people have the other tackle here, but I'm gonna go with Peter Skoronsky, the offensive tackle from Northwestern. I know there's some. I can't remember the other tackle's name right now. It's escaping me. If you can help me, that would be awesome. Paris Johnson, the
Paris
tackle
Johnson, yeah,
from Ohio State.
Ohio
I just
State. Yeah.
um I like the technique from Skronsky better. I think that that's something he has been graded higher on the season, and he's really an um, agile enough to face up to the athletic D ends in the NFL. And obviously, power is not his necessarily strength as a tackle, but he really showed in some games this season, even against Ohio State, that power pass rushers he could still do a good job against them. So
And um, I did see that he actually might play guard at the pro level too because
really,
his arm length is a lot shorter. It's pretty noticeable how short his arms are. So I saw that in an article yesterday that he might be a guard at the pro level, but he's athletic, like you said. He's capable of playing the guard position with how athletic he is. So I think
yeah.
I think this guy personally, I would think he's the best lineman in this draft. So I had the Raiders taking him as well. We had the same picks 3 through 7 at least so far. So we're in the we're thinking the same at least for
I
team
like
needs. So
it.
yeah,
This
you're
could be a
thinking
trade up.
Raiders, right? So you're
This
thinking
could be
Raiders would
another trade
draft.
up. All right, go ahead.
Go ahead. So you
No, you.
think free agency is where they're going to get a quarterback? Is what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't think with this roster you dump Derek Carr if you don't have another plan and you're just going to go with a rookie, given how old, not old, but when now their roster is based. And I think it's going to be a guy like Rodgers or Brady that they're really trying to get here. Yeah. So next pick. Oh, sorry. Trade up situation could be done here with Oakland as well if Lions and Seattle don't take quarterbacks and we're still sitting at this 5-6, like where is young Estrad Levis, whoever's left, where is this guy gonna go? This could be a target trade up spot for some of those 12, 13, 14 guys picking back there, trading up here, like or even Carolina if they want to try to trade up in front of Atlanta. I think Tennessee jumping from 11 here could be an option. And even the Jets trying to make a move up from 13 to get a quarterback here as well if one of these three is left. And given that, next pick is pick 8. And I have the Atlanta Falcons here. Quarterback, obviously, Bitter doesn't look like the guy. Receiver, they need more weapons, obviously, after the Calvin Ridley departure. And like the Falcons need everything. But I think that if there's a quarterback as talented as Bryce Young available here, they got to snatch him up. So I have Falcons taking Bryce Young here at 8.
I have them addressing their defensive needs. I have them going cornerback Devin Witherspoon from Illinois. This guy was number one graded in coverage last year. 92.6 was his coverage grade. Number one in all of the FBS. I think this is probably the best corner available. I think they need defensive line, especially edge rusher, more than they need a corner. Especially everything I've seen from Falcons reporters and things like that said that they would like to see an edge rusher selected here. But I think they have to go corner if you're Tyree Wilson and you're Miles Murphy. Obviously, Will Anderson's going to be gone by this point, but like those three guys, if they're not available at this pick, I think they got to address the cornerback need instead of their edge rusher need. So, another crazy stat about Devin Witherspoon, he played 107 snaps in press coverage last year. He gave up 0 touchdowns and only 5 catches for 23 yards. That's it.
That's crazy.
That is ridiculous. So
That was really
that's
good.
why I got
Yeah,
the Falcons going.
huge respect for Devin Witherspoon as well. I'm gonna go next pick here. Then we're gonna go to Carolina. Obviously, need quarterback. They need an edge rusher. They need corners, and they need a WR2 probably. Like DJ Moore is probably good, but they definitely need more receiving help as well. I have a reach here. I think that this guy is a guy you don't start this year, and I think as a team with a new head coach, one that has a history of developing quarterbacks, he's going to think, man, I can take this athletic freak and make him into a crazy NFL quarterback, and that is Anthony Richardson, quarterback from Florida. Again, this guy cannot start this season. He completed 53.5% of his throws last year at Florida. He is not NFL ready, for sure. But I just think the NFL players are going to, I think coaches are going to see the size and physical tools that he has and just try to take a risk here on a guy that is has some high reward. This guy will be drafted in the first round. I guarantee it. It
I
might be
agree.
later, but somebody is definitely taking a risk on him.
I agree. I think he'll be a first round pick. I don't have him in my top 11, though, at least for this too early mock draft. But I'm with you on the Panthers needing to take a QB here. And since I still have Will Levis on the board, that's a no brainer pick for the Panthers. If he's still available, if any of those top three are still available, they're 100% taking them. No doubt about it.
Agreed. Next pick is Philadelphia. A wonderful trade turnout for them here.
Seriously, wow.
Absolutely destroying the Saints. Get the 10th pick here. And for a ton of the same reasons that Bus had, I have them taking Devin Witherspoon here. Obviously, Eagles have Hargrave, Gardner Johnson, Bradbury, and Brandon Graham, all going to be upcoming free agents. So probably not going to be able to maintain all of those players. So they need a little defensive depth. Obviously, they need some depth on the D line as well. So there might be a reach here or a trade back possibility to get a different later defensive lineman and try to get a couple of extra picks for it. But if they stay here, I think Devin Witherspoon is the guy they're going to take, replace their secondary pieces that they're losing with a guy, again, who can play amazing press coverage, something the Eagles do a lot and really fits in with their defensive system.
Yeah, he would be a great fit for the Eagles. I'm with you on that. Since I already have him gone, I have him going a different corner, and that's Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. He's got the size and the speed to keep up with NFL receivers, 6'2", 200. The main drawback on this guy, everything I've read, is that he struggles against the run. So a lot of people think he's going to drop because of that. And yeah, like you said, Bradbury being a free agent, they're not going to be able to bring back everybody. So I'm thinking corner is definitely going to be an immediate need for them and something they'll address with this pick. Some other guys I could see, Brian Branch, cornerback / safety out of Alabama, Cam Smith, cornerback out of South Carolina, and Joey Porter, cornerback out of Penn State. I think these three guys will also be in play to crack this top 11 here. But I think Devin Witherspoon's the only one that's a lock for top 11, in my eyes at least.
Yeah, I definitely think the Eagles could go like Lucas Van Ness from Iowa or
That's another
College
one I wrote down.
Arkansas from Pitt. I think either of those D linemen could end up in Philadelphia as well.
Yeah, I wrote down Luca Van Ness as well. Good edge rusher out of Iowa, for those that don't know. Last pick here, though, Titans.
Quarterback, Spinny. Obviously, I think we understand Tannehill's probably on the outs. They're looking for something there. Wide receivers, obviously, Treylon Burks had some shows, but they need a more explosive offense and offensive line. They have 2 offensive linemen available going to free agency here. So big, huge part on that, too, especially if it looks like Tennessee is going to be shooting to try to get a guy like Rodgers or Brady.
Yeah, so I'm glad you said all that because I anticipate them picking a receiver or a lineman here. Those are the only 2 things I could envision. I have them going tackle. So I got Paris Johnson, who I think is the second best behind Peter Skoronski. So I got Paris Johnson being picked here. He's got size, length, foot quickness. And this dude's 6'6", 310. He can play left guard, too. He's athletic enough to play guard and tackle. His junior year, or Actually, I think he was only a junior. So 2 years ago, he was a guard at Ohio State, and this past year he was a tackle. So he has experience playing both.
Yeah, I went opposite here. I think there might be a receiver stretch coming. They want to try to. I think it's going to be one of these two guys. This is the hardest one. I debated back and forth between Paris Johnson and Jackson Smith-Njigba, who I think is the number one wide receiver talent in this draft. I know there's a lot of talk about the TCU guy and about Jordan Addison as well. But I'm a Smith-Njigba guy. I think he's going to be the first wide receiver drafted in this draft. And Tennessee definitely needs somebody to pair with Treylon Burks. And I think there is some offensive line help they could pick up in free agency if they're trying to bring in a starter like Brady or Rodgers.
Yeah, I think they're either bringing back Tannehill or they're going for Brady, Rodgers, Carr. One of those bets. Either way, they're going to have a bet quarterback on their roster next year. I mean, when you have Derrick Henry, he's 28 now.
It's probably his last year, that he's actually going to be like a difference-making running back, right? Even at the end of this year, it was kind of like, eh. So if you're lucky, this is probably his last year.
Yeah, so you have to just take advantage of the prime years of Derrick Henry and try to win now. You just have to. So for sure. Well, that was it for our
top 11
part 1. Top 11. We'll start with that. Unfortunately means our Vikings pick won't be till part 3. But
Vikings pick will start off part 3. That's kind of how we planned it a little bit. So you're gonna have to wait in suspense for 2 weeks to hear our Vikings takes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Spinny, honestly, that's it for this episode 43. The Hank Aaron episode. Don't even think about saying someone else. I know you're going to start.
John Riggins episode ended
my gosh,
wonderfully. One of the top 15 running backs in the history of the NFL. Shout out to him for wearing number 44. Also, real home run king Hank Aaron, 44 as well. Big shout out. Thank you all for listening. Hug your friends and family, and
hug them up.
See you next week.
We'll see y'all.